The opening lap of a motocross race can define an entire season, and that's exactly why this sport remains one of the most unforgiving forms of motorsport on the planet. Riders spend weeks preparing their bikes, training their bodies, studying the track, and perfecting every detail, only for everything to disappear in a matter of seconds after the gate drops. Just ask Redbull KTM Factory Racing's Plessinger. RedBud was supposed to be another opportunity for the cowboy to rebuild momentum after an inconsistent start to the 2026 AMA Pro Motocross Championship. Instead, his race ended before it had even truly begun. Plessinger launched off the gate with a respectable start and looked ready to fight near the front, but as the field charged into the opening corner, the inevitable chaos unfolded. Multiple riders tangled together, bikes scattered across the track, and Plessinger had nowhere to go. Once he hit the ground, another rider slammed directly into him from behind with enough force to literally rip his riding pants apart. The impact left him with a deep laceration across his tailbone, immediately ending his day before he had completed even a single lap. For fans watching, it looked like another unfortunate first-turn pileup, but situations like this perfectly illustrate how cruel motocross can be. You can prepare perfectly all week long, yet another rider's mistake can instantly destroy your weekend. That is a reality every professional accepts every Saturday. Plessinger later addressed the incident on social media, saying, "First off, thank you to everyone that has checked in on me, and well, RedBud did not go as I expected. It's such a bummer to go down like that without even a lap in. I ended up getting a decent jump out of the gate and going down in the first corner, and as soon as I hit the ground, I got hit from behind. It tore my pants and gave me a nice cut right on my tailbone. The guys over at Alpine Star's medic unit got me cleaned up, stitched up, and on my way. I want to thank them for that. As much as it sucks, I'm glad it's not worse, and I'm glad nothing's broken. Gonna get this wound healed up and be back as soon as I can. Thank you everyone for your support. Hoping this black cloud I'm under passes by soon." Those final words about the black cloud probably resonate with many fans, because they accurately summarize how his season has unfolded. Plessinger has shown flashes of speed, but every time it appears he is about to build momentum, something goes wrong. Whether it is crashes, bad luck, or circumstances outside of his control, the results simply have not reflected the effort. Sitting around 10th in the championship standings is not where a rider of his experience expects to be, and spending race day getting stitched up inside the Alpine Star's medical unit instead of battling for podium positions is another frustrating chapter in a difficult campaign. Fortunately, there were no broken bones, which is the biggest positive to take away from RedBud, because injuries around the paddock have already claimed several major names this season. However, there is another reality that cannot be ignored. Plessinger is entering a critical stage of his career where every performance matters. Rumors linking him to a potential Triumph Factory ride for 2027 continue to circulate, and whether those discussions are accurate or not, manufacturers evaluate consistency just as much as outright speed. Constant setbacks make contract negotiations far more complicated. Plessinger remains one of the sport's most popular personalities, and few riders receive the level of fan support that the cowboy enjoys. But motocross is ultimately judged by results. If this run of bad luck continues, it could affect not only this championship, but also the next chapter of his professional career. The encouraging sign is that the injury itself appears manageable. Once the wound heals, Plessinger should be able to return without facing months of rehabilitation. Now, the challenge becomes resetting mentally, because confidence can disappear almost as quickly as championship points. Sometimes, all it takes is one solid moto to completely change a season, and Plessinger will hope his black cloud finally begins to lift before the championship slips even further away. While Plessinger is trying to repair cuts and bruises at RedBud, an entirely different battle is unfolding across the Atlantic in the MxGP paddock, where contracts, factory budgets, and career-defining decisions are beginning to reshape the future of the championship. Forget crashes for a moment, because this fight is being decided inside boardrooms rather than on the racetrack. According to growing reports throughout Europe, the 2027 rider market has suddenly become one of the biggest talking points in motocross, with reigning MxGP world champion Romain Febvre reportedly closing in on a blockbuster switch away from Kawasaki in favor of Ducati. If the deal materializes, it would represent one of the biggest transfers in recent MxGP history. At 34 years old, Febvre understands exactly where he stands in his career. Every veteran eventually reaches the point where one final major contract can define the closing chapter of an already legendary career. Reports suggest three realistic paths were available to him: remain loyal to Kawasaki, begin a completely new project with Triumph, or accept what is believed to be Ducati's extremely lucrative offer. Right now, Ducati appears to have positioned itself at the front of that race. This should not automatically be viewed as a betrayal or an emotional decision. Professional motocross has become increasingly business-driven over the last decade. Factory teams invest millions into development programs, and riders have relatively short careers compared to athletes in many other sports. When an opportunity arrives that combines financial security with a fresh competitive project, even long-standing loyalty can become secondary. Ducati's motivation is equally understandable. Since entering premier-class motocross, the Italian manufacturer has made enormous investments while chasing credibility against brands with decades of championship success. Jeremy Seewer's departure highlighted that Ducati is still searching for the perfect formula, and although Calvin Blanderen has produced encouraging performances, including a strong fourth-place finish in South Africa, the factory continues searching for consistent podium finishes in championship contention. Signing a rider with Febvre's experience, racecraft, and world championship pedigree would immediately elevate the project and provide invaluable technical feedback during motorcycle development. For Kawasaki, however, the consequences could be enormous. The manufacturer has already secured impressive young talent in MX2, including Mathis Vallon, giving them optimism for the future development pipeline, but replacing a proven premier-class title contender like Febvre is never simple. Riders capable of winning Grand Prix do not suddenly appear overnight, and the list of available elite-level replacements is remarkably short. That explains why Kawasaki could suddenly find itself scrambling for alternative options if Febvre officially departs. From Febvre's perspective, though, the decision may simply reflect the reality of elite sport. At this stage of his career, there are only so many opportunities remaining to embrace a completely new challenge. If Ducati is offering both financial commitment and the chance to become the rider who helps transform its MxGP program into a championship-winning operation, it becomes an opportunity that is difficult to ignore. Success would permanently cement his legacy as more than just a world champion. It would make him the rider who helped establish an entirely new manufacturer at the highest level of motocross. Failure, on the other hand, would inevitably raise questions about whether leaving Kawasaki was the right decision. Either way, the move would become one of the defining stories heading into 2027. From Aaron Plessinger's painful RedBud crash to Romain Febvre's potentially career-changing contract negotiations, motocross continues to prove that victory and defeat are determined by far more than what happens between the starting gate and the checkered flag. Sometimes the biggest battles are fought against injury, and sometimes they are fought across negotiating tables where millions of dollars, factory reputations, and championship ambitions are all on the line. The next few months could reshape the future of both the AMA Pro Motocross Championship and MxGP, making every decision just as important as every lap turned on the racetrack.